Whoa, 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 whoa. I did it right this time. I did it right. I've got the proper camera. I got the proper mic, obviously. It looks huge. And I got my talking cane. I got my live stream cane. You know what's so hard to do is to look into the actual camera. I'm always wanting to look down at chat, or I'm always wanting to look down at myself, I guess. Thanks everyone for showing up. We passed 250,000 on the exact day we needed to. I am so glad that that's what I'm saying today, and that I'm not saying we're canceling the campaign. I mean, do you know how good it feels to say, look, we set a goal for the halfway point and we actually hit it. And I've really tried today to relax. I've seen some of the shenanigans. I saw some people talking about orgies in chat before I showed up. The funny thing is, before I press go live, I'm sitting here and looking at chat populate. So that was funny. I think you're right, Sting 68 or Stinge 68, that doing content really helps. And I've got a whole calendar planned out. I really tried to take today and kind of slow down and accept the good thing. I almost put good thing in quotes, and that's my problem. The good thing that we got to 250 on March 9th. That is great. That's great. And it's just a good thing. I'm trying not to think about, well, but we got to be at 300. Well, we need to, that's all fine and good, but you're only halfway. Look, we wanted to get to 250 by March 9th. We got to 250 by March 9th. I am happy. It is a good thing. And that's the end of the sentence. So, I have a hard time, as I've talked about on these streams before, just being positive. But this is a really big thing. I mean, even to think that we got to $250,000. That's $250,000 toward an Onyx movie. And it somehow makes the remaining 250 just seem more attainable. And I guess it's just the psychology of it all. But it just really feels like it's possible now. Whereas up to this point, it's been a question in my head. I'm attacking it like it's possible. Obviously, I need it to be possible. So the fact that we got there really, really, really encouraged me and sent me over the edge in a good way, like the positivity edge. So yeah, I agree, Sketty. The additional pledge levels helped. Ooh, Kyle, good question. Am I bringing back Friday faves? So actually, this Friday, we're going to start doing Friday faves minis. You know how Friday faves were usually me going through Onyx, going through 3 different categories: TV, movies, a book, or music that he's listening to. Friday Faves minis will just be one breakdown. So it'll probably be 3 minutes long, and it's going to be Onyx. This Friday is going to talk about, he's just going to be talking about goo in horror movies, his favorite goo. Top 5 moments of goo. So that's going to be Friday Faves this Friday. Friday Faves minis. Questions coming in. What's the next push? When will the script reading take place? Okay. The script reading is Saturday night on this channel at 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm going to be promoting that starting tomorrow. I'm going to be posting. Oh, wow. Just shook everything. Posting everywhere about it. 6 p.m. On Saturday, we're going to do a full cast read, full read through of the script. The idea is that during that read through, I've got a few friends that are going to be in chat, just telling people to go to Kickstarter, go to onyxthemovie.com. Sorry, Travis, you've got a question I should answer. And hopefully during that script read, we'll bring in some money to help push past the mid-campaign lull that I'm told happens. Although, we just had one of our biggest days ever yesterday. So I don't believe in the mid-campaign lull. I believe in the mid-campaign surge. I might even believe in the super surge. Who knows? Okay, Travis, your question. I'm currently pledged at 50. But I was wondering if there was a way to do 100 and get the I Don't Know Club stuff and a Blu-ray copy. Okay, so what you'd have to do is, so you're pledged at 50 in the normal tiers, meaning, I don't know, club and everything below. Could you up to one? Well, yeah. All you would do is add I don't think you can pledge a second time out of the same account. Thank you, Shadowworthy. But I think you could, if you had a second account or a second username, you could just pledge the 50 for the Blu-ray only tier. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Would like to get the Blu-ray too for another 50. Yeah, see, the problem is, so a lot of people have been talking about add-ons on Kickstarter, but you can't do add-ons. It's in like beta testing. Certain accounts can do add-ons, but I've also been advised that the add-ons get really confusing. And I think things are already a little confusing. But yeah, so if you cancel your pledge, well, right. What you would probably, or you could manage your pledge and just manage it and up to 150, because at 150 you get the Blu-ray and all tiers prior. So you kind of have to think about it this way. Since I added the film only tiers, think of those as like a separate row. There's film only tiers, and then there's everything else in this tier column. Film only is at 20, you can get the digital link, or at 50, you can get the Blu-ray, and that's it. Nothing before, nothing after. Film only is over here. Anything in the long run of tiers is about what comes before it and at what height you're pledging. If that makes sense. So I hope it makes sense, you know. Reaching Noah, have I reached out to other content creators? No, it's not clout chasing. Yes, I have, but I'm specifically working with a friend to kind of up the ante in that level. It's interesting. I'm not going to call anyone out, but I've already written a few people and just gotten no response. You know, I think with crowdfunding, it's interesting. I think there's a lot of people that kind of don't want to associate themselves with it because they know it's going to be such a push, and I don't think they want their audience to get burned out on it. You know, it's like for my audience to get burned out on it, that's kind of what y'all have signed up for, because I'm someone that's, you know, moving toward this big swing of making a feature. And you know me, you've seen this channel. I've asked for things often in order to continue to make content. So it's collaborating is harder than you'd think. And maybe I thought people would be like, hell yeah, I want to work with Weird Satanist guy. But not everyone does think that. Weekly Geekly, I did do some podcast interviews, including the Weekly Geekly. Podcast interviews have actually been a lot easier to lock down, because something about podcasting is more like collaborative. Like sorry, can you explain the thought process there? Can it only help? A lot doubt the full movie reading. Oh, interesting. But like podcasting, I guest on people's podcasts, and I need guests the next week. So I need them to come on my podcast. There's like much more of this kind of trade mentality with podcasting. Whereas with content creators, they may not want to collab with someone that has like lower subscriber base. Like, what will they gain out of it? You know what I mean? Okay. So, who is that? Merkins, who's that? I need to write some of these suggestions down. Okay, so somebody brought up whether or not the full movie reading is a good thing or a bad thing. Let me write some things down so I don't lose track. I mean, what do y'all think? Here's my thinking. I need to do some kind of event that's longer to try to bring in money as we're doing it, and it just makes sense to me to do a live script read. Like, if we get the money, the movie will be made, hopefully shot in like August or September, and then it'll be done a few months after that. Will anyone remember the script reading and like remember the spoilers they already saw? You know what I mean? Oh, also, the script reading only needs to stay online until the end of the campaign. And then, then we can make it private. Is that your concern? Were you thinking it might just be too spoilery and kind of show people the whole movie? maybe, but I think at this point it could only add to the excitement, I'm hoping. Also, here's something interesting. The version of the script we're going to read on Saturday is like my indulgent draft. So, okay, there's no way what we're shooting is what we're reading on Saturday. I mean, it'll mostly be it, minus like 20 pages, though. So if you watch the live read, you're going to be, in essence, getting more of the movie than you'll actually get when the film is done, because this script is too long right now. But I just read through it again this weekend. And, you know, I just, for the sake of a reading, I was like, why cut anything? Why cut anything? It reads really fast. And I might as well leave it at the length I'm currently happy with, especially because right now, everything, for the most part, plot-wise, connects. And the hardest thing when editing down a script, even though it's an Onyx script, so yeah, there's a lot of dialogue. You'd think there's a lot of stuff that could be cut, trimmed. But really, every scene leads to the next scene. Everything is very integral to moving the plot forward and giving the characters new information and evolving the concept. You know, there are very few scenes that just exist for the goof 'em ups. So that's why it gets hard to trim a script like that. But like I said, you should tune into the script read, because there's going to be scenes that I know will be cut before we film. There's a couple scenes where I was just like, that's not going to go into the movie, but man, is this fun to write. Okay, let me see. What are some of the questions? There is a tier. Oh, okay. 2 good questions. I mean, a lot of good questions, but is there a tier where you get a copy of the script? Yes. I don't have the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's up on my other panel right now, so I need to go to it. But yes, there is a tier where you get a copy of the script, both digital, and then there's a tier where you get it physically. Out of curiosity, in order to get financial backing from investors, do you need to be fully funded, or can you go to them now? Really good question. A little bit of both. You could, I have been reaching out to some investors that are kind of like looking at the campaign. And I've said, are you interested in investing if we get close? And they've said, let me talk to some people. And that's where the conversation is currently. What is the most reliable way forward would be, we get the full 500 through Kickstarter, and then we look for an investor to just pay for the big actor to play Bartok, the lead villain, so that you can make the movie with the 500. You know, the movie can be made with 500, but could you get a bigger star if you had a little bit more money? Possibly. And that's where I think you'd want to bring in your investors, because I really think getting to 500 just through crowdfunding is a really, really good, that's good optics, you know, to get an investor on board. Okay, here we go. These are all really good questions. We want lots of Onyx. So thank you. Yeah. Last week I said if it doesn't work out, I would be stepping back and taking a break from short form. That is true. If this film doesn't get made, I am going to be stepping back from doing short form stuff, because I need to make a movie. I need to make a movie. And unfortunately, if it isn't Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls, it's probably going to have to be an experimental, no budget movie shot on VHS. You know what I mean? I have to just, but I got to do something long. And the idea of my first, you know, real feature being Onyx, that feels right to me. That feels like the fucking payoff for like 10 years of doing the character and of creating content that kind of gets into horror comedy with my shorts. Just, it's like, it's, you know, it's Ghostbusters crossing the streams, which I know is technically a bad thing, but crossing the streams like that feels like the right way to go. And I just really love the script. I just really love the script. And I changed some stuff in it this weekend that got me even more excited about it. I added a whole new, I added a whole new opening that's like a real horror movie opening. It used to open right on Onyx as he was making his audition tape to win the contest and go to Bartok's mansion. But now it opens on something really creepy, and then it like hard cuts to Onyx making his tape. So you go from like horror movie vibes to, hello, Onyx and Fortuitous here, you know, and then it's just, oh, it just feels so good. It feels like something that would be fun for anyone to watch, not even just Onyx fans, because it's just so clear We've got this horror movie set up, and now we're in this weird guy's world. And how are these two worlds going to collide? Got to watch the movie and find out. It's a good, interesting. There was another question in here. What about working with Crypt TV? I've pitched to Crypt TV before. They did not say yes to any of my pitches. Sorry, love my wood paneling. Thank you. Somebody asked in here, would I have Final Cut? And that's really interesting. I don't know what I'm getting a phone call from somebody. Okay, Final Cut. Here's what you can guarantee. Noah, thank you. Oh, a meme review. Onyx reacts to memes. That's good. That's good. I'm actually writing down what other Onyx reacts videos I can do. Onyx reacting to memes. That's good. Onyx memes. So the issue of Final Cut. And then I do want to get to the topic that we were going to discuss tonight, which is influences. But, we'll get there. I wanted to talk about the creative influences on the film and also like personal influences on the film. The issue of Final Cut. If we are financed through crowdfunding, I will shoot the movie I want to make. Bottom line. Here's where my Final Cut could be taken away. That's a good question, by the way. D-Wold, what's my greatest strength? I'm going to write that down because I'd love to talk about my greatest strengths as a filmmaker. Okay, strengths. I wrote it down to where I will never be able to know what that word is. Here's where Final Cut could get taken away from me or could be challenged. So I make the movie as I want to make it, and I shoot it how I want to shoot it, and I edit it. I will be editing this film. I edit the film how I want to edit it. And then I send it off to festivals, or I just start sending it around town, and somebody says, I like the movie, I want to distribute it. Let's say that, let's just hypothetically, Shudder. So hypothetically, Shudder wants to buy the film. That'd be awesome. I've been in touch with Shudder. I've pitched to them before. Nothing's really worked, but something could work in the future with them. So say Shudder sees this movie and they say, dude, we love it, but you need to make it 10 minutes shorter. For our platform, it's too long for what we're saying is a horror comedy. I'm going to screenshot some of these messages because they're really good. So that's where my cut could change, is when it gets to distribution. Somebody may say, oh, we love the film, dude. Could you change this thing about it? And then we'll distribute it. And, the truth is I most likely would. I would do nothing to shoot this project in the foot. You know what I mean? I'm going to do everything I can to make sure. By the way, onyxthemovie.com. Oh my gosh. I have a sign posted. A sign printed today, which it's really slick. And it says onyxthemovie.com on it. And the printing place called me an hour ago and said that it's not going to be ready till tomorrow. Please back the Kickstarter, onyxthemovie.com, onyxthemovie.com. So anyway, I'm going to do all that I can to make this film, to put this film in the best position for the widest release. I know it's a weird little horror comedy. I know Onyx can be considered niche, but I also know the script is really sound. It's not super, super weird, he says, as he remembers there's an entire fantasy sequence with Gadget Hack Wrench while Meatloaf's I'd Do Anything for Love plays. But what I mean is it works for a mainstream audience when it comes to just like the tonality of it. It's still a real hero's journey. It's still a real uplifting movie. It's not too gory, but it's not too saccharine either. It's a really digestible piece of entertainment. And that kind of gets into talking about influences. So I didn't make some little weird thing that, well, I haven't made it at all yet, but I didn't write some little weird thing that's only going to be good for, 10 people. It really is like a crowd pleaser. Am I insane to think that? But I think it is. Okay. We're going to talk about strengths. I think my greatest strength as a director right now is knowing my own voice. When I watch movies that don't quite land, it almost always goes back to intention and voice. And you only get your voice dialed. That's why I'm so thankful that for years I've been putting out content. And I know it's reductive to call it content, but that's what people call it. But one thing that making content does, and even making TikToks does, it dials in your voice, it dials in your perspective. So when I sit down to write this script, Onyx, I know so well, I put him in any situation, he starts to talk. You know what I mean? So that is a strength. The idea that that character can be put in any situation and I don't have a code to crack because I've been cracking the code for 10 years. That to me is a strength. And it doesn't just come with Onyx. It also comes with me as a director in other scenarios because I know what I like. I know what I don't like. Case in point, here's a good example. We're making Little Willie, right? With some wonderful collaborators. Everybody I worked with on that short, I would work with again. And I will when we make the Onyx movie. Knock on wood paneling. At the end of Little Willie, if people have seen it, I take the little hat off of the doll and I put it on my head and I wear a doll's hat for the last shot of the movie. More than one person in the room working with me on that said, "Oh, are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "What? Yeah, that's what's been in my head for months." All right, that might be even too weird for this short. What? Him putting the doll's hat on? That's like the final move. That's him saying, I am now one with the doll. I'm going to listen to him at all costs. We're blended. And it was like an actual conversation. Some of my closest friends that were working with me were like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know about that, dude. Maybe let's get a take where you don't put the hat on your head." And I said, "No, we're putting that baby doll's hat on my head. And that's just how we're shooting it." Because I knew that's what I wanted. And that might seem like a small thing, but that's what directing is. It's just having an answer. It's having a response. And it really needs to come from a genuine place. It can't come out of, well, I don't want to look bad for not knowing the answer. And also, if you don't know the answer, you've probably hired somebody that does know the answer. You know what I mean? If I have a question about blocking, when should I turn? Should I come out this way? I talk to my DP, and my DP almost always says, "Oh, no, dude, I think you need to come through that door because the light's going to be on this side. We'll frame you better in that door frame." You know what I mean? But it's about knowing when to have those conversations with the right people and knowing when to just answer for yourself and stick to your guns. If we did a Little Willie feature, would we make an original doll? Yeah, because the one we're using is an old Hasbro doll, I believe, called That Kid. I watched Little Willie, and well, you need a dedicated editor, in my opinion. What do you mean by that? I'm the editor of Little Willie. Did you think it was cut poorly? Oh, no. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but clarify. I watched Little Willie, and you need a dedicated editor, in my opinion. Sound also. I had a great sound person on Little Willie, both production sound and post-production sound design. Try to clarify that, because I'm not sure what you're saying, and I'm not offended if you're saying something critical, but clarify that for me. Okay, let's talk about influences on the film, or should we just keep doing Q&A? I feel like this is actually going really good. I'll lace in my thoughts on influences, but let's just keep doing some Q&A. Okay, this keeps coming up, Joseph. Raffle off 10 virtual and 10 physical appearances in the film, and this would bring in revenue. Yeah, I guess the question is, I don't know how to do that through Kickstarter, like running a raffle like that. Everything's got to be through Kickstarter. All the money's got to go into the Kickstarter. Onyxthemovie.com, onyxthemovie.com. Noah. Oh, I love Churdley's. Yeah, I will reach out to him about doing a collab. That's a really great idea. It's come up before, and I should. He's hilarious. I don't know about the virtual raffle thing. I don't know how I would work that into Kickstarter, but clarify if you know a way. Answer, I missed who asked it, but how many pages a day? You can't see it. Well, actually, maybe you can see it. So look, here was the little schedule I made. You can't really see it. Okay, yeah, there you go. That's the schedule I made for myself. It was December and January. And each day on the calendar has a page count to get to. And it was about 3 pages a day. So, you know, I started on December 21st, 3. December 22nd, 6. December 23rd, 9. 24th, 12, and so on. What I wound up doing was writing like 6 pages a day. Was getting to like 5 or 6 pages a day because I got so in the pocket. You can't do your own editing. It lacked that Hollywood edit feel. Wow. Well, I think I'll take the hit. I think I'm a really experienced editor, though. I've edited longer than I've done anything. That's the thing. I've edited longer than I've written. I've edited longer than I've directed. And I also think one thing you got to remember is Little Willie. I feel like in criticizing Little Willie, it's hard to deduce what elements of it might feel a little amateur, because it might have been how much time we had to shoot that day, or it might have been the fact that we couldn't really light much because we were shooting at an active live horror convention. I don't know that the editing, yeah. Oh, you don't have to apologize, dude. Whoever you are, you don't have to apologize. I have been taking criticism since, high school, or no, since I was 8 auditioning for plays. Criticism is fine. If anything, it can be a conversation, and it can be an enlightening one. So Marty, you're saying my editing is fine. Now we're just going to troll Bowser for his editing. I think your editing is fine, but it's not going to be a blockbuster at the budget you have. Yeah, I don't know that anyone thinks it's going to be a blockbuster. You talking about like Avengers? Yeah, I don't think the Onyx movie is going to be Endgame. I think it's going to be a successful indie that hopefully sells to a streaming service and opens doors for a bigger film. If that makes sense. Trust me, I'm a realist when it comes to my expectations. What other questions do we have? Anybody else want to criticize my editing? So let's talk about biggest hurdle you see with the movie. That's a good question. The biggest hurdle is obviously the pandemic. That's the biggest hurdle. I tried to be as cognizant of that while writing it. I tried to limit the scope of the cast. Once people get to the mansion, there are only 7 lead cast. I mean, there's only 7 cast total at the mansion. There's even people playing double roles. Like I play this little demon. Another actor plays 2 characters. So I tried to make it as localized as possible. So if it is a situation where we're doing it like they're doing TV production in Canada, you have to quarantine for weeks before entering set. So it might be that, or it might be, that everyone's vaccinated by then. I mean, I don't want to speak too positively about things that I can't control, but yeah, somebody just asked that. Do you think we'll be vaccinated? I don't know. But I do know that if we're funded by April and we don't actually go into pre-production until like May, then I think it's like June, July. Best case scenario, you're shooting August, September. I'd like to believe a great many people, more than are vaccinated now, will be vaccinated by then. What am I thinking visually? Ash versus Evil Dead. Yeah, actually, Matthew, bringing up Ash versus Evil Dead is a really good comparison, because yes to that. That is yes. I would love for it to look like Ash versus Evil Dead, because Ash versus Evil Dead still felt kind of throwbacky, but it still was very polished. It was very glossy. And another thing to bring up. So think about, like, when I make Little Willie, this is the post-production house. When I hire my sound designer for Little Willie, he works alone. When we do this feature, all of my department heads are getting real teams, full teams. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't do full Foley on Little Willie. I'm sure people know what Foley is, but it's all this, right? It's all that. We couldn't even do a full Foley pass on Little Willie. So all of that stuff adds to something feeling a little less dialed in. But on this feature, we're not going to cut any corners. We won't be forced to. There'll be a full team for every department, prosthetics included. Studio ADI is going to be doing the creature effects. Studio ADI. You're concerned, QAB Andaman. I don't know how to say your username. You're concerned because I said crowd pleaser. Well, I don't think you should be concerned. What I really found with this script is like the heart of the character. And so there is a lot of emotionality there. So when I say crowd pleaser, I just mean like, it's not a bummer. You know, it's not bleak. It has this like optimistic, adventurous energy at the center of it, even though it also has people being murdered and their souls being sucked out, put into an ancient talisman so that the devil could reign over Earth. It has all that, but there's just this really good emotional core that I think is present in all Onyx content. You know, sometimes Onyx can get angry, sometimes he can get messy, but he's at his core, he believes in the best of people and he wants to be a meaningful person himself and, you know, have something important to do on Earth. Okay. Do I find myself losing myself when playing Onyx? Oh yeah. I mean, in the video I posted today, doing the review of this toy. Are you kidding me? Because to talk about this, you got to be like, all right, well, so I think that toy is kind of sexy. I know it's Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw, but still wouldn't mind hooking up. And then as an improviser, you got to think, well, where do I go from here? Well, does Andrew Bowser want to have sex with this toy? Well, I guess not, but Onyx does. Well, I don't get the thoughts by telling myself in this like external way, you don't think this way, but Onyx does. So come up with ideas for Onyx. You just have to say, I want to fuck this toy. I want to fuck this toy so bad. You just have to exist in it. So, yeah, I lose myself doing Onyx, but I also think that's part of the fun of it. I feel a great catharsis performing Onyx. If I'm having an angry day and I sit down to make an Onyx video, I make an angry Onyx video, you know? If I'm feeling excited, like today, if I hadn't been so swamped with work, I was going to make a TikTok where he was just running down the street yelling like, we made 250, we made 250. I mean, I wanted to do that because I felt that emotion and I wanted to run it through Onyx, but I had a bunch of notes to do for my my job. So I couldn't get out and do that TikTok. So any kind of computer technology or effects, yes, but it will be minimal. But example, I want the creatures to be practical. I want when the people get their souls sucked out for that to be practical. The way they look, they're going to look kind of like Barbara and Adam and Beetlejuice when they're like dying at the end, when the wedding's happening and they're like shrinking up and they're all wrinkled and their cheeks are hollow. That kind of mixed with Deadites. But here's an example of where something digital might come in. When the characters in the film are stabbed with the knife of Dagon, which is this demonic knife. Let me see if I can explain it. Yeah, I can probably explain it with this. Okay, consider maybe, oh, this is perfect. Oh my gosh, you kidding me, dude? So, okay, say this is the talisman, but it's like, but it's circular, but you wear it around your neck, right? Oh, I'm wearing my talisman. If you take the talisman off of the chain and you put it to the knife of Dagon and you stab somebody with it, their soul travels up the blade and goes into the talisman. So the talisman is both a talisman, but it's also the handle of the knife. People are like, we didn't ask for this information. Why are you going so deep on the mechanics of the talisman blade? When the soul travels up the blade and then goes into the talisman and it glows purple, that might be CG. You know what I mean? That might be CG. The kind of tendrils of soul goo going around the blade and then filling that talisman. And then the nice thing is, when you've got all 5 souls in your talisman and you put it back around your neck, you speak the ancient spell that brings about the rising of Abaddon, the demon, the large, beefy bad boy from hell. So there will be elements like that are CG, but for the most part, I want everything to be practical, which also means longer shooting days, which is why this is a movie that would cost $500,000 and not 150 or 300. Longer shooting days because you're getting people in and out of heavy prosthetics. I mean, at one point, I play, if anyone's seen that design of that box demon, I've posted it before. I play the box demon. So that setup is there's this box and then there's going to be, it's basically a combination of like prosthetics that I'll have on my face that then I will have to sit into the box and then they will have to blend the prosthetics to puppeteered elements or animatronic elements that are his little feeties, his little tendrils. So, I mean, just think about that. That's my day. Like, you're not getting any Onyx coverage that day. You know what I mean? Because Bowser's in Box Demon that day. So, that is the type of thing that extends a shoot schedule. I actually had a tier on the Kickstarter originally that was that you would get a greeting from that box demon. But then I thought about the realities of that. If I'm in that box demon makeup all day to shoot this scene where the box demon is talking to Onyx, and then we wrap and it's like, Bows, you got to do the 500 greetings to the backers from box demon. And I'd be like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, holy moly. So I took that out of the Kickstarter before launching because I just thought that wouldn't be smart from a production standpoint. Okay. Any big names going to be in it? I've answered this before, but I'll answer it again because I absolutely love talking about it. But this is a good question. What is unique about the film where they can tell my signature is on it? Dream casting is that Nicolas Cage plays Bartok. I mean, that's the dream. And I'm throwing it out there because this whole process has been like, let me just be optimistic. Lance Henriksen's great too. Let me just be optimistic. Let me just speak positively over the whole thing. I mean, I practically made a vision board. I didn't, but I should have made a vision board. You're telling me to answer somebody's question, but I don't see who you're talking about. So I would really love to get the budget to have a big star like Nicolas Cage play the main bad guy. That's who I'd love. Is it like a troll in chat? I'm honestly asking to say that I missed a question, but that like doesn't exist. Because that happened the other night. Somebody was like, avoiding my question, I see. And I'm like, what? I didn't see you ask a question. And then I even obsessively scrolled back after this archived and couldn't find the question the person asked. So is that like a thing to do in chat to like troll the person, make them think there's something that they're not seeing? But if I did miss something, somebody said, don't dodge Mongoose's question. I didn't see a question from Mongoose. I'm so sorry. Okay, super chat from Sulksy. I just want to say that personally, I think only reading maybe half or less and leaving us wanting to know what happens next will really get people engaged and want to back the project. Not a bad idea. The only problem is I can only get these actors for one night. So to do half and then to bring them back is an impossibility. The other option would be don't do it live, record it, and then split it up and release it in 2 parts. That's not a bad idea. And I thought about that. I thought about saying you get half the script here. And then if we get to 320, you get the other half. But the problem is, I think there's something to doing it live and having people in chat, push people to onyxthemovie.com that I think would like bring about more engagement. Am I wrong? I might be wrong. I don't know. This whole thing is such a learning process. And I might be wrong. My signature on the film, I think, I kind of said it, but it's that sentimentality. It's that heart. I think when a lot of people parody 80s films or pay homage to 80s films, they just pay homage to the style and they don't really get the heart. So I think my signature would be that blend of, oh wait, that's a really good question, by the way. End of movie. It was just a hallucination from the meat sweats. Don't forget that. Hold on. I've got to respond to that. I think it's the blending of the absurd with the emotional. That's what I like doing. I mean, case in point, I know it's on a micro level, but Onyx talking about this ridiculous toy actually causes him to confront what he feels about what it represents. And he actually got caught up in getting maybe personally, internally shamed for wanting to have sex with someone that looked like Leatherface, but was also an attractive female. I mean, like, that's absurd. But my approach is him getting emotional and actually yelling about it and actually feeling like he's having an emotional reaction to it. So I think that's my doing polls increases audience engagement. Do you mean like during it? Like if we were doing polls now? Okay. So sorry. You're saying get the whole thing and then edit it and release it in 2 chunks. I get that. This is a good question. Fancy crafts. This is a great question. Is there actual horror or just goofy horror? Don't let me forget about the hallucinations question. Goofy horror versus real horror. I'm going to tell you right now, there's only real horror. All of the horror is played straight. That was like a rule for me. This is not the type of movie where somebody gets their head blown off and other characters are like, Ziggabodoinks. He just lost his head. I might lose my lunch. None of that. When people are killed in this movie, it has weight to it. I wanted that from the very beginning. And of course, like Onyx's reactions are, heightened and they're comedic, but somehow I'd like to believe I'm not undercutting the severity of the actions. And I said this on one of the other live streams, onyxthemovie.com, back it now, onyxthemovie.com. All this BS I'm spewing means nothing if we don't get the money. onyxthemovie.com, onyxthemovie.com. Jonathan, great question. Okay, hallucinations. Jonathan, what would we do with extra money if we make more than 500,000? What a wonderful question. That extra money won't be extra. It'll be going toward paying to get the rewards created and giving Kickstarter their fee. So best case scenario, we actually wind up with a full 500,000 for production budget. Because think about this, Kickstarter fees, and then creating all of those products to send out as rewards and paying people to help me do that, because one person cannot do that, that could suck up $100,000. So I want $500,000 for the production budget. That's my goal. If we go over by any amount, we're not really going over. That's just going towards the rewards and paying Kickstarter their due fees. Hallucination. The whole movie is a hallucination that Onyx had at the Meat Hut. I actually wrote that into the script and I took it out. Okay, I didn't write it into the script, but I put something in the script that could be an Easter egg if you wanted to view the movie that way. And I feel okay saying this here because odds are when this movie gets made, not many people will come back to this archived live and then see this little tidbit, but it might make it into the film. I put in the beginning of the movie, Onyx is at the Meat Hut. Well, he's at his house and he enters Bartok's contest, but then he goes to the Meat Hut for work. And what we see at the Meat Hut is that he's actually a really good employee. He's like the best employee. And he's on top of all of it. He's like frying the fries and flipping the patties while he's also like turning down the temperature on this and taking out the like toaster strudel desserts over here. And like he can tell when one of the coworkers is like one fry short on their order. They're walking out an order and he's like, you're one fry short. Feel the weight on that. So that is what I'm trying to say is Onyx is not a layabout. He likes being functional and he likes being good at something. He wishes it were more than being good at the Meat Hut, but he takes pride in what he does. And in that scene we did with Stanger the other day with Todd said, you know, clothes make the man. You know, I would expect you to know that. And Onyx is like, I'm proud of what we accomplish at the Meat Hut every day. I've always taken pride in my most menial of jobs. I used to work at a grocery store bagging, well, and checkout and bagging. And I took pride in doing that job well. I mean, I know I sound like someone's dad. I sound like a boomer saying this, but you got to take pride in that little stuff. It really matters. Every interaction with those people that I worked for at the grocery store mattered. The fact that I was in a good mood, that I asked them how their day was. I even took pride in bagging it the right way. You know what I mean? Never putting the fragile stuff with the heavy stuff. Always putting the eggs on top. I like doing things well. I like doing film well, most of all, but I like taking pride in work in general. And that's something that I wanted Onyx to have as a quality. So, okay, back to the question about the hallucination. Early on, Onyx is having to do everything because all the other employees are just not giving an F. And at one point, he takes the trash out, and there's an employee sitting there by the dumpster smoking, and it's Darrell, the same name from the Weedham Arby's boys. And he's like, oh, Darrell, really need your help in there? This Friday night rush is hitting something fierce. And Darrell's like smoking, and he's like, yeah, I'm on my smoke break, though. And Onyx says, pretty sure you clocked in 3 hours ago and immediately started this smoke break? And then Darrell says, yeah, oh, you're right. I guess then fuck off. And Onyx just says, copy, and then goes in. Like, he can't get them to do what he needs them to do. But when he walks in the Meat Hut, he slips on spilled soda, and it's like odd how much time we spend on it. There's like an insert of the foot slipping, and then like a medium of him falling, and then a close of his hand gripping the counter. So it feels like this moment, right? But then he stands up and he's like, Vera, wet floor sign. And his coworker Vera brings over a wet floor sign. So it plays like it's just a moment from the opening of the film where we're seeing him at his job. But there is a way to watch the movie where Onyx fell in the Meat Hut and the entire movie is a hallucination or a dream within a coma, or or Wizard of Oz style, right? That's the comparable. And it's all because he fell at the meat hut and hit his head on the counter. There's even little like Rocky Horror Easter eggs. You know how at the beginning of Rocky Horror, Frankenfurter is at the church, and Riff Raff is at the church, and then they're also obviously at Frankenfurter's mansion. There's a character at the meat hut that's also at Bartok's mansion, but she kind of, that's what I mean when I say people play two characters. She plays a regular customer at the meat hut, but then she's like a succubus at the mansion. So that might make its way in there. It's a funny idea. It's just a funny Easter egg. Do I believe the adventure actually happened? Yes, just because that's my heart as a storyteller, But is it fun to think maybe he just fell at the meat hut and the whole thing was a dream? Yeah, that's fun too. So anyway, Masha is in the movie. There's no other artists besides Meatloaf that I'm trying to license music for. Meatloaf's the only, because I really if you write music into the script, you are really setting yourself up for disappointment, because it's so hard to get the rights to music, copywritten music. I gave myself one ask, and it's this Meatloaf ask. Okay. Oh yeah. In regards to creating audience engagement via community post polls, sign into YouTube at the top of the page, select upload, and then create post. So you're just talking about doing it on the community tab. Yes, I will do that more. Oh, and I mean, I should have done it before tonight. I should have said, what do you want the topic of the live stream to be? That's a great idea. Well, I'm doing another live on Thursday. I wrote it down up there. Oh, I was going to talk about my favorite scenes in the script on Thursday, but we didn't really talk about influences tonight. But so maybe Thursday will be influences and favorite scenes. But to be honest, you all have been so active in chat that I don't need to assign topics. The questions are great. Gosh, Christopher Walken as Bartok. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so for those that don't know, onyxthemovie.com, onyxthemovie.com. I'm going to write down some of these people you're suggesting I collab with. Ryan the Leader. Oh, you know what? What a great question. Would I remake the film if I got a copyright for a Gadget Hack Wrench? So when this script is locked, I'm going to send it to an entertainment lawyer and basically get them to do coverage on the whole thing and mark any legal concern. And that's when I'll know. Because you can talk about characters to a certain degree, but when it comes to representing them, yes, that might not be possible. Would I consider remaking it Evil Dead 2 style? I don't think this movie will be as low budget as the original Evil Dead. So I don't think you'd need to, like, I know what you're saying though. I think if this movie made enough of a splash on the festival circuit and maybe on a streaming service like Shudder, or maybe if it's sold to Netflix, I would love to make a sequel. And yes, maybe the sequel would need to kind of retcon things a little bit just to make it make sense for everyone that didn't see the original. That might be what happens, and I would love that. But this movie really does feel like it's setting up a little universe. The way it ends is either Onyx, okay, I'm happy for him where he is, or you could look at it like, I want to see where this goes next. Okay, it is rated R currently, but not because of nudity, mostly because of violence and language. When I sat down to write this, I told myself, why don't you write a PG-13? And I just couldn't. It just came out R, which, that could limit distribution. It's so hard to think about it all, because I just want to make the movie that best represents me. And if we're getting the money through crowdfunding, why not do that? But at the same time, I want to make sure this goes as far as it can go. Yeah. So, all right. Jay Skeezy, I know that feeling. Trust me. I know that feeling. Okay. Eden, you should comment on my channel, because doing a retro video game would be awesome. Nathan Barnett's amazing. Gus Johnson's amazing. I'll write both of them. Okay. And thank you so much. I'm going to close it up for now, but onyxthemovie.com, onyxthemovie.com. My goal for this week is technically to be at 280 by Friday. That's a big goal, but that's the goal. Oh, we're doing a live stream this Saturday night at 6 p.m. here. We'll announce cast before then, but Thursday night I'll be back here by myself, and we'll be talking more Kickstarter, answering your questions, and yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you all so much. This was a good stream, and I'll be back Thursday doing a live stream at night.